Hi, I'm Beth and welcome to my channel where I talk about all things Mounjaro and weight loss. Today you're going to learn 5 tips and tricks to help you break a stall. Stalls seem like an almost inevitable part of a Mounjaro weight loss journey, and most people go through them at some point. They can be very disheartening because you feel like you're doing all the right things and you've just hit a roadblock and you're not losing weight. But don't lose faith because there are some very helpful workarounds which I'm going to show you today. These are all tried and tested by yours truly, and I know that they just work. At this point, I should say, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nurse, I'm not a nutritionist, I'm not a chimney sweep, I'm not a salsa dancer. This is a long list. I'm a massive disappointment to my parents. The point is, none of this is medical advice. You should speak to your doctor before you start on any medication and follow their advice throughout. All I can do is share with you the benefit of my experience.
Now off you go, you're on your way.
If you find this video helpful, please feel free to like and subscribe. It really helps my channel. If you're new to my channel, I should let you know that I've been on Mounjaro for over a year now. I started out in May 2024 at 196 pounds or 14 stone, and I'd reached my goal by Christmas 2024. At that point, I was 140 pounds or 10 stone. I'm now in maintenance and I've accidentally managed to lose another 5 pounds, so now I'm 135 pounds or 9 stone 9, and that's a total weight loss of 61 pounds. And here's what that looks like. The reason Mounjaro has been so successful for me is 1, this thing just works, and 2, I've researched it to death because I'm slightly obsessive. The fixes I'm going to show to you today, I found out through my own research, and I've tested them out through trial and error. Learn from my mistakes and hopefully you won't have to make mistakes of your own. There's no official definition of what a stall is. A stall just means you've stopped losing weight. Some people say they've stalled after they have not lost weight for a couple of weeks whilst taking Mounjaro. I wouldn't really say that. I'd say maybe just give it a month, and after that, if you're still not losing weight, then start thinking about how you might change things. As to why we stall, who knows? You can do all the right things, stick meticulously to your calorie goal, and still not lose weight. You just get stuck. Diet culture makes us think this is some kind of failing on our part. We must be doing something wrong. It's not really that. And that's quite redundant and quite self-defeating thinking. Weight loss is not moral, it's biological. And if Mounjaro has taught me one thing, it's that. So the solutions are also biological. You might not be losing weight because of your hormones, or it might be because your body is desperately trying to reach homeostasis. That's to say, it's trying to stay the same weight. Those of us who've been overweight for some time know just how determined our bodies are to stay the same weight. The only way to change that is to mix things up. Einstein said the definition of insanity is doing the same things over and over again and expecting a different result. Let's not be mental, let's change things up. Good question. There are a number of reasons to avoid titrating up. The first one is the lower the dose, the lesser the side effects. In England at least, the lower the dose, the cheaper it is to buy if you're buying these meds. The third reason is there's a limit to how much you can take. At the moment, that limit is 15 milligrams. And once you've hit that ceiling, there's nowhere else for you to go. I did follow a couple of YouTubers at the start of my journey, and at that point they were following the manufacturer's guidance, which was to go up in dose every month. The problem they faced is once they reached the 15 milligram dose, there was nowhere else for them to go. They hadn't lost all their weight, and the medication became less successful the longer that went on. So bear that in mind. The other thing is you might want to wean yourself off these meds at some point once you reach your goal, and the lower your dose, the easier that is to do. If you're losing weight on a dose, why not stick to it? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. How I worked this was once I found a dose that worked for me, I stuck to it. And I made that dose work for as long as I could by using the following tips and tricks I'm going to show you.
I've got a woman crazy for me. She's funny that way.
An effective way to break a stall without titrating up is to split your dose. That is to say, you take half of your dose at the beginning of your 7-day cycle and the other half halfway through. This looks like if you take your dose on a Friday, if you're on 5 milligrams, you would take 2.5 on Friday and the remaining 2.5 on a Tuesday. The point of this is that it maintains a steady amount of Mounjaro in your system throughout the week. This avoids that end of the week feeling when the food noise sometimes slips in as the meds wear off, and you can sometimes be tempted to overeat. There is a very helpful website which I'll leave below and in the description, and that tells you how much Mounjaro is in your system at any one point. You just type in your dose when you took it and it shows you how much is left. Now I'm going to show you how to split your dose on a UK Mounjaro pen. Well, I'm sure we all recognise this. This is a UK Mounjaro pen. This one happens to be a 10 milligram pen. Now, if you twist this thing for 64 clicks, you'll get a full dose of 10 milligrams, and it shows one in the little window. Put it back. Now, it stands to reason if you were to twist this thing for 30 clicks, you would get half a dose. So I'm now going to twist this thing for 30 clicks. Okay, when I get to 30, the halfway mark, I'm going to make a little mark so I know where I'm at. That is now a 5 milligram dose of Mounjaro. If you were to take the top off and attach a needle and inject as normal, you'd get a 5 milligram dose. And that was how I broke my first stall, just by evening out my dose and making sure that by the end of the week I was still sticking to my calorie goal. Another way to break a stall is to exercise. I always feel extremely guilty when I talk about exercise because I do so little, but I used to do even less. What you need to do is boost your metabolism, and a really easy way to do that is to up your exercise. I only used to do about 10 minutes walking a day, and I upped that to an hour, and that really helped burn a few more calories and just get my metabolism moving again. One reason you might be struggling to reach your weight loss goal every day is because your body's lacking in something, in which case supplementing is really helpful. There's two ways to do this. One is to tailor your supplements specific to your body's need, or two, to go broad brush and take basically everything that could cover every eventuality. For me, I found that I was overeating and I was really craving things, and I just couldn't figure out why, even when I was on Mounjaro. So I went to my doctor and asked for a blood test. The nurse took the bloods and I waited a few days and heard back from the doctor, who assured me everything was in the normal range and it must be just because I was overweight. Because some doctors think whatever's wrong with you is just because you're overweight. Anyway, I asked the receptionist for a printout of the actual numbers and saw that although my iron was in the normal range, it was at the very lowest end. So I decided to supplement with iron tablets. These are the ones I use. I use B12 and then just a sort of general iron tablet. I get those from Nutrition Geeks. I get them on Amazon and they're pretty cheap. I will leave a link in the description. So you might also find it worthwhile to get a blood test and just try and pinpoint if there's something you're lacking, something specific, and then you can supplement to top that up. Now, you'll hear a lot of talk about electrolytes. They can be useful if you find you're exercising more than usual and so you're sweating a lot, or if you find a side effect of taking Mounjaro is diarrhea. In both of these cases, you might be losing minerals, particularly sodium, and electrolytes can be very helpful. Personally, I haven't really found any need to use them myself. I did buy some at the beginning of my journey just because everybody else was and I thought I might need them. These are ones I bought. I bought them in Boots and they're quite useful because they have a multivit in with them. But to be honest, unless you have the specific needs that I just talked about, I'm not sure how helpful or necessary electrolytes are. What might be extremely useful, or what I found extremely useful, is magnesium. Magnesium is good to combat some of the side effects of Mounjaro. Magnesium glycate, which helps with sleep, magnesium malate, which helps with energy levels, and magnesium citrate, which helps with constipation. Again, Nutrition Geeks do a 3-in-1, which is quite cheap on Amazon, and I'll include that link. Now, if unlike me, you're not particularly obsessive about what specific vitamins you need, an all-round multivit will probably do you. This one is extremely cheap. I think these are like £8.50 for 60, and I get those from Aldi. If you combined these with the magnesium, I think you'd be pretty much covering all bases, and the cost would be around £5 a month. Don't forget to recalculate your calories as you lose weight, because I forgot. After the first couple of weeks I lost 10 pounds and I didn't recalculate what I needed to eat. Obviously I needed to eat less as I'd lost weight. As you lose, go back on the TDEE calculator and I'll leave a link. Type in your new weight and it will tell you what your new daily calorie goal is. If you don't do that and you keep your initial calorie target, what will happen is you'll slip into maintenance and you won't lose any more weight. So go back, recalculate with your new target, and then hopefully you should keep losing weight. Last, but by no means least, is fast. It's a really good way to change up your eating pattern and to break a stall. This was the last tip and trick I did during my journey. It was the last one I needed to do because I didn't have any stalls after this. I'm going to leave a link below to Dr. Jason Fung, who will talk you through all the different kinds of fasting. But basically the way I did it was that the day after and the day or two after I took my shot, I ate a lot fewer calories than my normal calorie goal, gradually building them up towards the end of my week. This works really, really well with Mounjaro because I found that the day or two after my shot, my appetite was really suppressed. It was no effort at all to fast. Then, as the week wore on and the meds wore off, I tended to want to increase my calorie intake anyway. Because I'd saved calories earlier in the week, I had calories to spend later on. Now, the way to do this is basically, instead of thinking of your calories as a daily intake, think of them as a weekly intake and distribute them differently during the week. For the first couple of days after my shot, I'd take around 500 or 600 calories, building up to my full calorie intake after 3 days, and then exceeding my calorie intake by the last day. This really worked for me and it might work for you. And they're all the tips and tricks that I use to help me break stalls. If I've left anything out or if you've done anything that has helped you and might help others in the community, please leave them in the comments below. As always, I'm happy to answer any questions, but otherwise I look forward to seeing you in my next video.